Well, end of an era, ladies and gentlemen. Rest in peace, E3. E3 2023 was announced back in June of 2022. In an interview with the Washington Post, ESA president and CEO Stan Pierre-Louis said, "We're excited about coming back in 2023 with both a digital and an in-person event. As much as we love these digital events and as much as they reach people and we want that global reach, we also know that there's a really strong desire for people to convene, to be able to connect in person and see each other and talk about what makes games great." E3 had to cancel numerous times in the past few years because of COVID and the lockdown and all of the restrictions surrounding that, but 2023 was prime for E3 to return. Gaming is still thriving and COVID lockdown and restrictions have been lifted, but alas, it was not meant to be, as confirmed by IGN here on March 30th, 2023, just a couple minutes ago as of the recording of this video. E3 has been canceled. Not only did two sources confirm to IGN that the organization announced the cancellation via an email sent out to its members today. The email said that while E3 remains a beloved event and brand, the 2023 version simply did not garner the sustained interest necessary to execute it in a way that would showcase the size, strength, and impact of our industry. And it's worth noting that this email does not mention that they'll be undertaking the show again in future years. Sometimes silence speaks loud, and the fact that they're not even mentioning the prospect of an E3 2024 may indicate that this is the final nail in the coffin for E3 as a whole. I cannot imagine E3 coming back from this. Here's an official statement that the ESA issued from Kyle Marsden-Kish, Global VP of Gaming at ReedPop, confirming officially that E3 2023 has been canceled, stating, "This was a difficult decision because of all the effort we and our partners put toward making this event happen, but we had to do what's right for the industry and what's right for E3. We appreciate and understand that interested companies wouldn't have playable demos ready and that resourcing challenges made being at E3 this summer an obstacle they couldn't overcome. For those who did commit to E3 2023, we're sorry we can't put on the showcase you deserve and that you've come to expect from ReedPop's event experiences." While it's true that certain companies like Nintendo backed out because they didn't have enough content to show, there are plenty of other companies who would have been willing to participate if communication was better, if they had some idea as to what was going on with this year's E3, if they weren't just confused about the state of E3. I'll elaborate further in a bit, but for now, let's take a look at what exactly happened. Things really began to go downhill when on February 2023, IGN reported information that they had heard from multiple sources that Xbox, Sony, and Nintendo won't be a part of E3 2023 or have a presence on the Los Angeles Convention Center show floor. We're talking about E3's biggest attractions. All three of them were meant to be absent at this year's event if it was going to take place, which we now know it isn't. Now, for some time, it did seem like E3 2023 was going to take place after all, focused more on those major third-party publishers like Ubisoft, who confirmed on February 20th, 2023, that they will be attending E3 2023, that they will be presenting at the event, only for them to do a complete U-turn on March 27th, 2023, when it was announced that Ubisoft will be backing out of E3 2023 weeks after announcing it would attend the expo. The company will instead hold its own Ubisoft Forward live event on June 12th in Los Angeles. And the real stinger is that the Ubisoft event is seemingly now a part of Summer Game Fest, which is the event that Jeff Keighley is hosting, an event that he established after he got fed up with the way E3 wasn't evolving enough in the direction that E3 was being taken in. Jeff Keighley didn't like that, and so he's like, fine, I'll do it myself. I'll start my own event and show my vision of how these kinds of events should be done. It would seem as though companies that would have initially attended E3 are now gravitating towards Summer Game Fest. All Ubisoft had to say about this sudden U-turn is that we have made a subsequent decision to move in a different direction, which is incredibly vague and may indicate that Ubisoft just doesn't want to talk about it because they might have had a negative experience trying to organize for E3. They're now moving on to their own live-streamed event, I guess in partnership with Summer Game Fest. Same goes for Devolver Digital, who recently on March 28th, 2023, tweeted, "No Devolver E3 parking lot this year, but we will have a fresh new Devolver Direct presentation during Summer Game Fest." Yet another company ditching E3 for Summer Game Fest. This was all before the official cancellation today, but at this point the writing was on the wall. More so when Jason Schreier tweeted the following: "One consistent conversation at Game Developers Conference last week was, is your company going to E3? No idea. Is it actually going to happen? Who knows? Developers across the entire industry did not seem certain whether the event was going to happen or whether their publishing company was going to E3. which seemed to indicate just a lack of proper organization and communication on the part of the ESA and Redpop. As of March 27th, with Ubisoft now having backed out of E3, the number of video game publishers currently confirmed for E3 was at nil. 0. This was 2 months out from when E3 2023 was supposed to take place. Usually by this point, plans are solidified, but the fact that everything was still in limbo indicated that this event was just not meant to happen, because there was no way that they were going to plan everything out in a matter of 2 months, with so many publishers and developers unaware of whether E3 was even happening, and seemingly with no concrete plans in terms of attending E3 and doing some kind of presentation. The writing on the wall became that much more clear when IGN reported on March 28th, 2023 that they've learned Sega and Tencent will be skipping E3 2023 as well, amid rumors that the promised triumphant return of gaming's biggest event may not happen after all. In this article, IGN also gave us an idea for what games industry folks were saying about the prospects of E3 2023. IGN reporters have spoken with numerous individuals in publishing and PR, all of whom expressed concern about the status of this summer's event. Many told us that they hadn't heard of anyone else who was planning to attend for sure, and some said they felt there had been a significant lack of communication from the ESA and organizer Redpop as to what exactly they should expect from the show. Several described the situation as one where everyone was waiting for someone else to be the first to jump, but no one was willing to take the leap, and time was running out. Ubisoft did come on board, and they're one of the biggest third-party publishers out there for video games. That might have gotten the ball rolling until Ubisoft decided to do that 180 and depart from the show. And after that, one knowledgeable source told IGN that after this, there is no possible way this show can happen. Ubisoft's departure was seemingly the nail in the coffin for E3 2023 specifically. And if you ask me, the cancellation of E3 2023 is the nail in the coffin for E3 as a whole. Here's additional reporting about the lack of communication on the part of E3 organizers. What was most striking about these conventions was the sheer confusion. Several sources told us that in the past years when E3 had taken place, they recalled already having all their plans firmly in place by this time in March, whereas this year in March, we had no concrete ideas on who is attending and who isn't. Not so in 2023, reads this article from IGN. Multiple people broached the question of E3 with us throughout the conference, even before we asked, seemingly desperate for information that could help them make informed decisions about whether or not they should be allocating large budgets for a show floor booth and the personnel to staff it in just 2 months' time. Yeah, that's just too little time for any publisher to prepare for a major event like E3, which is why many question whether they should skip the show itself but still make an appearance in town to meet off-site with media who might be around that week. Just do something. While E3 plans were in limbo, Jeff Keighley's Play Days, which is a part of Summer Game Fest, it is an in-person media-only event that last year took place over 2 days in early June around the same time as E3, and which has been confirmed again for this year. That's happening again this year, and at this stage, a number of game companies have solid plans locked in for Play Days, and a few mentioned they expected more games to be present this year than last year. So Jeff Keighley's event is growing and expanding as the Game Awards did, and I have a feeling that Summer Game Fest will eventually become the new E3. We've already seen a number of companies back out of their traditional E3 attendance to work with Summer Game Fest instead, and Jeff Keighley has adamantly expressed his desire to make an event that is more in tune with modern trends, that has a better direction than what the ESA was pursuing with E3. It looks like that might happen after all. But for now, as Summer Game Fest continues to be in its incubation stages, the event is still currently significantly smaller than E3 has been historically, but over the years, that may very well change. I have a feeling that Summer Game Fest will become bigger and bigger every year, kind of like the Game Awards, which started out kind of whatever, and now it is the event to watch for video game awards, and it's become a major venue for video game publishers to make major announcements. Now, another major contributing factor for why game companies were more reluctant this year to take risks with in-person events had to do with budget. Keep in mind that COVID had a significant impact on game companies, especially during lockdown periods where they had to lay off a bunch of their event teams and slash their funds for in-person events, and they're still recovering from that. And so as a result, a lot of game companies may still be in a transition period where they're trying to bring back teams that help organize events and also are still trying to watch their budget and the like. You combine that with the general uncertainty surrounding E3 and you get a situation where a lot of companies were like, this year is just not worth going to E3. On top of the lack of communication from E3 organizers that led to confusion surrounding E3, another major contributing factor to why so many companies pulled out of E3 was the fact that they're just being more conscious about their budgets. As IGN puts it here, many publishers have yet to replenish to pre-2020 levels. Even if companies wanted to come to E3 or Playdays or just LA in general, many aren't financially prepared for all the expenses that entails. If they are, they're spending that money on events that have fewer questions about their stability, such as PAX or Gamescom, which makes total sense. Why spend all this money on something like E3, which there were questions about whether it was even gonna happen? Now, apparently within ReedPop, there's a sense that those involved with organizing E3 felt that they were left to shoulder the blame for the ESA's past mistakes and publishers' present-day fears. I think the cancellation of E3 2023 and the death of E3 as a whole was years coming. It's not strictly the fault of ReedPop, who took over organizing E3 this year. They were just dealt with a shitty situation that brewed for many, many years because of the ESA's mismanagement of E3, and unfortunately, ReedPop's efforts weren't enough to revive E3. One last thing IGN reported on in this article is who is attending and who isn't based on the major publishers who they reached out to get any kind of confirmation. They did not get a response at the time from EA, Square Enix, Embracer Group, Activision Blizzard, Epic Games, Take-Two, and Warner Brothers Games, which is concerning enough as is. You'd think that if they had any plans to attend E3 just 2 months out before the event, you'd imagine being asked that question, they'd quickly say yes if they had solid plans to attend. The fact that they didn't even comment already said a lot. But beyond Sega and Tencent confirming that they're not going to be at E3 and Bandai Namco declining to provide an update on E3, what IGN was told by their sources is that there are a number of publishers who plan to skip E3, but they have yet to make a formal announcement. So at this point, it wasn't just the writing on the wall that was saying E3 was basically as good as dead. There was this giant neon sign that was telling us this was exactly where this road was headed. To close things off, here is Jeff Keighley's statement on all of this, somebody who's been a major influence on E3. He was the face of E3 for a while. He said, "Here's 15-year-old me at the first ever E3 in 1995. E3 lasted roughly 25 years before it fizzled out. E3 meant so much to me," said Jeff, "and to so many of you too. 4 years ago, I realized that E3 wasn't evolving as it needed to compete in a global digital world, so we started building what's next. See at Summer Game Fest, June 8th. Jeff Keighley continues to be savage about taking any opportunity to advertise Summer Game Fest anytime E3 announces something unfortunate. This time, just it's a complete death. But I also don't disagree with Jeff. For years, it's felt like E3's relevance has been diminishing, and I guess we'll see whether Jeff Keighley can take Summer Game Fest, turn it into the new E3, make it a big in-person event, and turn it into something that people can celebrate and that can keep up with the times. I'm very curious to see what his future plans are for Summer Game Fest and how it'll differ from the direction that E3 was taking their event, how he will evolve as it is needed to compete in a global digital world. I do wish him the best in that endeavor. I do think gaming needs some kind of Super Bowl-like event akin to E3 that unifies all facets of gaming. Publishers, developers, studios, players, media outlets, creators, you name it. I do have fond memories of E3, and there is a melancholy that comes with knowing that E3 is as good as dead, that the final nail in the coffin may very well have been hammered in. But if we have to break something down to build something better for the future, then I'm all for this major paradigm shift that's about to take place for summer gaming events. Or at the very least, that's one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on the official cancellation of E3 2023 and what you think that means for the future of E3 as a whole. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.